My name is Jim Barton. I'm a field engineer with Solo.io. I've been here for almost 3.5 years now. I've been using Instruqt for, I'd say, 2.5 of those years. Yeah, it's an awesome platform. We love it at Solo. So we're all about educating customers. We're trying to get customers to adopt new cloud-native technologies, to consider things that a lot of times they haven't considered before. Service mesh technology, cloud-native API gateway technology, all things with a fair amount of complexity. And we need to be able to educate engineers in a way that they can get their hands on the technology and actually gain some real experience and develop some confidence to use it on their own. Typically the people who are really engaged with us on Instruqt are engineers. They're people who want to get their hands on with the technology. They're not people who are satisfied with, with a slideshow, right, with a canned demo. I mean, those things are fine, they have their place, but we have people who really connect with us through the hands-on experience, through actually being able to get their hands on the technology in a controlled environment and take some intellectual ownership, like this is something I can use right here and I can see myself using this in my own world. You know, any kind of demonstration environment, you always, in order to get it into a reasonable time frame, you always have to constrain the environment and do some things to make it work in a timely fashion. And one of the cool things about Instruqt is it allows us to do that sort of thing, but then really to give the customer a sandbox, and not just a sandbox, but a guided sandbox, if you will, where they can go through and actually experience our products for themselves. So after a great workshop, a lot of times, well, it depends on the nature of the workshop. Sometimes we do, like the session yesterday was very much an initial, kind of an initial engagement sort of workshop. So out of that sort of experience, we'll typically have people, they may come here to the booth, like at this conference, they may engage with us through one of our account executives or through our Slack channels, get more technical advice, that sort of thing. But we also use Instruqt for post-sales education as well. So in many cases, we have a customer who's new to, say, our API gateway technology, and maybe they've even been through an initial Instruqt experience with us on the pre-sale side. We'll also use this as an educational tool to go more in depth, maybe even in as much as a 2.5, even 3 hour long session to really get them in depth in more complex scenarios. Configuration of these technologies is complex, right? And so we certainly, probably as everyone in this room does, we provide a lot of documentation on how to do that. Yep. At the end of the day, it's still complex. At the end of the day, it still requires an investment from very smart, very, very highly paid people. And so if we can smooth out that initial ramp into the product experience that really highlights the key elements of what we're delivering, that's just an incredibly valuable thing. We measure in terms of time to value for our customers. We sell subscriptions for enterprise software, and so it's very important. They're typically on an annual basis, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and so it's vital for us to get people to value as quickly as possible. And so having a portfolio of workshops like we can build with Instruqt to guide people through that process is really valuable. And it even helps it go viral sometimes. So within a customer organization, we may have 1 or 2 advocates that we're working with, but then we can also say, you want to expand this out to this other team? That's fine, here's the link, right? Hand this to this other person and they can do this on their own without ever, and sometimes directly engaging. Yeah. I could not, the way you expressed it as a learner's journey is exactly right. That's the way we see it as well. I mean, we've been about, we're on the cutting edge of a lot of the technology we do, helping people adopt cloud-native gateway, cloud-native service mesh technology. It's still, it's all growing in usage, but it's still fairly new. And so providing people tools where they can learn, in some cases, without a human being. Sometimes we do instructor-led training, like we did yesterday. Yep. But often it's just, it's hands off from our standpoint, right? People come in through the academy. They get the experience, they learn, and it's like, hey, these Solo folks, they provide some, interesting content. Maybe we should go back there and, and learn some more. Instruqt is critical to us because of its reliability even in large environments. So yesterday we did a session with, I'm going to estimate between 100 and 150 people, most of them actively engaged with the workshop technology. And there have been times in the past when I started at Solo, we rolled a lot of this sort of workshop enabling technology on our own. We would spin up our own VMs, we would do lots of networking magic. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. to go check on the provisioning and make sure it was going okay. Yep. I'd hold my breath when we actually began the hands-on part of the workshop, like, is it going to work today?
Yep.
I sleep really well with Instruqt now. So Instruqt is it's a rock. It is reliable. I can go into an environment like yesterday with 100, 150 people. It doesn't really matter. Instruqt just works, right? We can focus on the learning experience. I'm not sitting there, with half of my mind thinking about, all right, what happens if this stuff breaks, because it never happens. Yeah, if you take a look at Solo Academy, academy.solo.io, we have a whole library of Instruqt kind of opportunities, primarily there for initial engagement, getting started with Istio, getting started with ambient mesh, gateway technologies, that sort of thing. But even then, all the way up to things like, we have advanced courses on Istio, preparing for production deployments, that sort of thing, that we've had success with Instruqt. So, definitely as we expand our product portfolio, our use of Instruqt will expand right along with that.